Okay, welcome student to this series of lectures on communication systems. In the part 1 we saw about AM modulation. In today's lecture, which is part 2, we are going to learn about super heterodyne receiver. First of all, let's understand what are the requirements of an receiver. Firstly, it should be cost effective. It should not receive the corresponding modulated waves, like if it is an AM modulated, FM modulated, so it should be able to receive that and do the demodulation accordingly. A receiver should be able to tune and amplify the desired station. So or in other words, whatever is the frequency which we require, it should be able to receive only that frequency, and it should be able to reject the unwanted stations, right? So these are the two important qualities of an receiver, which can be called as selectivity, that is selection of the required frequency and rejection of the adjacent frequencies, right? So demodulation has to be done to all the station signals. So irrespective, if you keep changing the frequency of the receiving station, okay, that is if you are changing the carrier frequency, carrier signal frequency, still the demodulation has to be done irrespective of the excuse me, carrier signal frequency. So these are the requirements of an receiver. So first and foremost, to understand how these receivers work, we need to understand how an RF tuned amplifier works. Okay, this is a common collector, common emitter amplifier. Simple, instead of an RC load, we have used an LC tank circuit out here, right? So the gain of this amplifier is given by beta RC divided by R pi. Okay, so if you are not familiar with how an CE amplifier works, please refer to my video on CE amplifier, which is there in my web page under the under my courses analog electronics. So that explains how this formula has come, and it explains very well how this CE amplifier amplifies the signal. So the gain of this is given by beta. Beta is the factor of the transistor given by IC divided by IB. So that is how it amplifies the base current by a factor beta. The amplifiers, so the beta IB will be available at the collector as the collector current. So that is what beta stands for. And then RC is the load out here, and R pi is the again the input impedance of the transistor. So this formula and detailed explanation is available in my video out there in the analog electronics under my courses and analog electronics. Okay, so if this is the formula here, instead of RC I am going to use a parallel LC network. Okay, so ZL ZC. So if ZL is the impedance of the inductor, so the parallel combination of, and ZC is the impedance of the capacitor out here. So the net impedance of, instead of RC, we need to replace it by ZL LC divided by ZL plus LC. So that is the parallel combination of LC, right? Okay, now if you see parallel combination of ZL is nothing but J omega L, right? This we studied in our basic electrical science, and ZC is given by 1 by J omega C, right? If you substitute these two, that impedance what we are going to get is L divided by C into J, L omega by 1 by omega C, right? So this is just replacing ZL and ZC by JL omega and 1 by J omega C. So you get this figure. So if you carefully observe this, for omega is just the frequency, right? So for different frequencies the impedance will be different. So for a frequency known as the resonant frequency, omega 0 is equal to 1 by root LC, right? If you do that, right, for that frequency, if you try to substitute the value of omega here, so this becomes 0, right? If this becomes 0, then the total impedance tends to infinity. So for this LC network, if you have a tank circuit here, for a frequency which is known as the tuned or the resonant frequency, the impedance tends to infinity, and hence the gain will be the maximum. Okay, so in fact for any practical circuit, however, you will always have an R which is parallel to LC. So if I go back to this circuit, the output resistance of this transistor, that also would come into in the small signal analysis as even if this load resistance is not there. If there is load resistance is there, that L also will come in parallel. Even if this load resistance resistance is not there, I am talking about an open circuit voltage. In that case also the output resistance of this transistor will come in parallel to LC. So for all practical circuits there will be L, and hence the impedance will not go to infinity, but it will go to the value defined by R. Okay, the value of the R. Okay, so L and C will get cancelled at the resonant frequency. So this is how I tune the circuit for a particular frequency, right? So if I want say 1 megahertz, okay, so I 2 pi f, so I will write 2 pi f is equal to, right, in that f I will put it as 1 megahertz, and accordingly take a combination of LC, so that at 1 megahertz it will have an peak maximum impedance. So maximum impedance means maximum gain, so that is why I will be able to select the particular frequency. Okay, for all other frequencies the impedance will be low. So if the impedance is low, the gain will be low, and if the gain, because you see RC is in the numerator, if the gain is low, you can assume that it is being attenuated. Okay, so only the required frequency will be amplified through this amplifier. And how do we select the required frequency? By selection that frequency, this by using this equation, omega 0 is equal to 1 by LC. So you can take any combination of L and C, right? So you will be able to tune the circuit. Generally, when we say the tune, when we will be able to, because we are making an amplifier, there will be a requirement to tune the amplifier for various frequencies. So the inductor generally cannot be tuned, so generally you will have an inductor constant, and C will be tuned for different frequencies. Say for 100 megahertz I will have one value of C, for 100.25 megahertz I will have some other value of the capacitance. So you have a variable capacitance. So earlier days you had the gang capacitors, and mechanically if you open up an old transistor you will find capacitors where the parallel plates can move with respect to each other. But nowadays you have PMOS, which is used as a varicap. That is, varicap means variable capacitance. So by changing the bias voltage to the PMOS transistor, we use a variable capacitance there. Okay, so this is how we are able to this is what the impedance curves looks like. So let's go to the next slide and try to understand. Okay, so this is known as, this is how the actual tank circuit looks like. There will be an resistance which is in parallel. So the impedance will be given by this formula now, right? All of them three in parallel. So when at the resonant frequency, if you see this gets cancelled to each other, okay, then only 1 by R square, so that will become R, it will come to numerator, and the impedance will be Z is equal to R for the resonant frequency. So let me just introduce you to one more term which is known as the quality factor. Okay, quality factor is nothing but resonant frequency divided by bandwidth. Okay, what is bandwidth? Bandwidth is 3 dB plus 3 dB minus 3 dB. Like whenever this signal amplitude wise it is 1 by root 2 times. Okay, so we take those two frequencies, that is known as the bandwidth. Okay, 1 by root 2, when this, suppose this is now the value is 1 out here, okay, for example, then for 1 by root 2 you take the whatever 1 by root 2 for those two frequencies. If you make a horizontal line here, okay, where the this magnitude is 1 by root 2 of the peak value, then you make two vertical lines and you will get the two other frequencies. Okay, so that full range will be known as the bandwidth. So that defines Q. So Q means if this is very narrow and steep, it will give a high Q, and if it is broad, if it's not able to reject the adjacent frequencies very properly, the Q will be bad. So for all practical circuits where you have an inductor, if you see this inductor also will be realized by making a metal coil, right? So these coils also, if it's in a VLSI circuit, you will have a metal layer in which you will draw the coils, right? So it will have some series resistance also. So that will spoil the Q. So the maximum Q you can get in practical is around value of 5 to 10 only, right? So it is not possible for us to reject, only select the required frequency and reject what we don't want, right? So the Q imposes an restriction. So these things will be further clear in the next slide. So what I tried is this is an LT Spice circuit. you can also implement this, so all the values are given out here. So this is a cascode structure. Okay, now what is the advantage of a cascode over an CE amplifier? It behaves very well with respect to the in the frequency domain. It will have a larger bandwidth. Okay. Again, if you want to learn more about the cascode structure, you can refer to my lecture on cascode also, which is available in the analogs on my web page under the analog circuit, in which I have explained what is the difference between a CE amplifier and a cascode amplifier. It is just a CE amplifier. On top of that, you have a CB amplifier. So all these analog circuits I have explained there. Okay, so coming back to this circuit, so I am applying a sinusoidal signal. So this is a cascode structure, and here load I have tuned it, so for with an value L and C out here, right? Okay, so in a practical RF, this C will be we'll use a varicap. Okay, varicap is variable capacitance, which is generally we'll use an PMOS. Okay, if you change the bias of the PMOS circuit, you will get a various capacitance, so you will be able to tune it to the required frequency. Okay, here I have taken a fixed capacitor here, so this forms the tuned circuit. So if I take the this is the response on output amplitude. Okay, so if you see that I have tuned it for 100 megahertz, so it is giving a maximum output at 100 megahertz. Okay, now what is the bandwidth? If I see the bandwidth, okay, if I take 3 dB down here, so this is minus 3 dB, which I have taken here. So if you see the frequency is 3.6 megahertz, that means 3.6 megahertz here, 3.6 megahertz here, like it is from 103 megahertz, even 103 megahertz and 97 megahertz. Okay, 3 megahertz. So from 97 to 103, all these frequencies will be amplified. Okay, by this amplifier. Although I have tuned it for 100. Okay, I have tuned it for 100, but still all frequencies from 97 megahertz to 103 will be amplified by this circuit. Okay, so if you see in any commercial application, different channels will be allotted at a spacing of only 25 kilohertz, right? If I have one frequency at 100 megahertz, there will be another channel, another radio station excuse me, which will be at 100.025 megahertz, right? There will be one more channel at 100.050 megahertz. So and similarly at 99.075 megahertz. So all those adjacent channels also will be passed through this amplifier. So this channel, although you are tuning it for 100 megahertz, it will allow lot of other frequencies also to pass through it, and it will amplify all those adjacent channels also. So this is going to be a practical limitation if you are having only one tuned amplifier, right? So now what I am doing is let me just see what is the response at say 500 kilohertz. So I have changed the value of L and C, and now I have tuned this amplifier for 500 kilohertz. If I do that, yeah, I will see that the bandwidth is only 19 kilohertz. Okay, so it is not going to pass frequencies which are beyond 90 from the center frequency, right? So bandwidth is actually 2 into 19. So at one side it is 19 kilohertz. So obviously the next channel, which is spaced at 25 kilohertz, will be rejected by this filter. So what do I understand here is, if I have an very small frequency, then I will be able to if I have a small tuned amplifier at a lower frequencies in the kilohertz range, I will be able to reject the adjacent frequencies and get only the desired frequency. So even the 25 kilohertz spacing will be taken care of at these small frequencies. It will be able to reject the next channel, which is just at 25 kilohertz spacing also. So but I cannot have a carrier at 500 kilohertz, right? A carrier is generally in the megahertz. I said as we go higher frequencies, only then it can accommodate large number of channels, and the antenna size will be lesser. So I cannot change the RF to 500 kilohertz. The higher RF means I can have large number of channels multiplexed into different channels. So what do I do now? So what do I do is, it is known as I can use a super heterodyne receiver, which takes advantages of these two concepts which we have just learned. Now suppose what I do is, I have an RF amplifier, right, and then I have this is an RF filter, RF amplifier, then I have a mixer, I have a local oscillator, and then I have an IF which is 500 kilohertz. This this is a band pass filter which is known as IF amplifier. So the IF frequency is 500 kilohertz, which is amplified, demodulated. Okay, so whatever is the if it is an AM, I need to use an AM demodulator. If it is an FM, I need to use an FM demodulator. And once I demodulate the signal, I have an audio amplifier and a speaker. Now suppose, let me give an example how this whole thing works. Suppose I need to receive a radio station which is transmitting at 100 megahertz. So since my IF is 500 kilohertz, I am going to make the local oscillator tune to 100.5 megahertz. Okay, so this is 100 megahertz signal which is coming here. This is 100.5 megahertz. So these two will is multiplied out here. So 2 pi into 100 megahertz. This is MT. This is the modulating signal. This is the actual signal, sound signal which we want, audio signal which we want. So it is being multiplied with 100.5 megahertz, right? So cos A into cos B is cos A plus B and cos A minus B. It will give two components. Okay, so cos A plus B is going to be 100 megahertz plus 100.5 megahertz, which will come to 200.5 megahertz, which will get, because this is tuned to 500 kilohertz. This is a band pass filter. So that is why if you see, it is cut here, and this is without a cut, this signal. So this is the symbol of an band pass filter. So it is going to pass only 500 kilohertz signal. So if you take the difference of these two, it is 100 megahertz and 100.5 megahertz, so 500 kilohertz. So this 500 kilohertz signal only will be passed. Obviously this carrier signal, this modulating signal also will be superimposed on this. So you have this, and then you use a demodulator, so you will be able to get this MT back. Okay, this demodulator is going to remove the carrier signal. So for an AM, this could be just a diode envelope detector, or you have coherent detectors. So those things we learned in the last class. So this could be a demodulator. So this will give me the M signal. Now, okay, so now since it is a 500 kilohertz filter, it will be able to easily remove the adjacent channels, because we saw here in the previous slide here, in 500 kilohertz it was able to remove the adjacent channels properly, right? So 500 kilohertz, so this will be able to remove all the adjacent channels here. This will be able to pick up only the desired channel. Okay, but this has got a problem called as image frequency. Now what is image frequency? So in this, image frequency is nothing but RF plus 2 into IF. So in this case, like we are tuning for 100 megahertz, there will be some station which will be transmitting at 101 megahertz also. So if you have 101 megahertz coming here, and this local oscillator is going to we have tuned it to 100.5, right? So 101 and 100.5 also will give 500 megahertz. In fact, so once out of the from here mixer, it will give this IF amplifier, since it's tuned to 500 kilohertz, it is going to give signals from two radio stations. Okay, one which will be 100 megahertz and the other 101, because 100 and 101 both, when which is mixed with 100.5, will give 500, because it will give the sum and minus. Cos A into cos B is cos A plus B and cos A minus B, right? Cos A cos B, right? So so even 101 also will give 500 megahertz. So that is an undesired thing which so this is known as an image frequency. So we need to do something to prevent this image frequency also coming into the circuit, otherwise it will simultaneously tune two radio stations. So we need to remove that, right? So let's try to use a different high IF amplifier. Let's see what happens. Suppose I use a 10 megahertz IF amplifier. Okay, IF amplifier here. So IF is my 10 megahertz now. So obviously now here, so I am using 100 megahertz out here. So I am going to tune this. If I want 100, I am going to tune this to 110 megahertz instead of 100.5, because the IF is 10. So 100 and 110, when they beat, they will give me a 10 megahertz signal. Okay, that is fine out here. What about the image frequency? RF plus 2 IF, that is 120 megahertz. 120 and 110 is also going to give me 10 megahertz. So now the IF, the image frequency is 120. Now if you see this RF amplifier, I have tuned it to 100 megahertz, right? So if I tune it to 100 megahertz, this is 20 megahertz away, right? If it is 20, the image frequency, so 20 megahertz, so we saw the bandwidth is generally of 3 megahertz, right? 6 megahertz, 3 to 6 megahertz. So it will be able to reject this image frequency, right? Because the IF is greater, so the image frequency has moved very far away, right? In this case, in the first case, what happened is, in the previous case, the IF was 101, the image frequency was 101, and this was tuned to 100. But since the Q factor is low, right, it was, and we know around 3 megahertz is the bandwidth of this, around 3 to 6 megahertz is the bandwidth. So if I am tuning to 100, even 101 also will pass, okay? Whereas in this case, okay, the IF is now pushed to 10 megahertz, which is a high IF now. So the image frequency has gone to 120, so it will be able to reject the image frequency here. Now if I consider the difference between, okay, in the first case I have a low IF, okay, very low IF. Low IF will be able to reject my adjacent frequencies, okay, because 25 kilohertz, so the 500 kilohertz filter will be able to reject the adjacent frequencies, but then there is a problem of image frequency getting through, okay. In the second case, I have used a very large IF. If I use a very large IF, the image frequency is rejected, because the image frequency also will become far away from the original frequency, so the RF amplifier can be tuned accordingly, so that will go away. Once that is, it will be able to reject the image frequency. But this has got again a different problem, because it is 10 megahertz. This will not be able to isolate the adjacent frequencies of 25 kilohertz. Okay, the 25 kilo, there will be 2 or 3 channels which are adjacent to each other from our required channel, like 100.025. Though 100.025 also will get through this, because now we are using an filter of 10 megahertz, which will not have an bandwidth of less than 25 kilohertz, right? So it will, those adjacent channels also will pass through here. So what do we do? Simple. It is very simple, that we are going to use a combination of these two IFs. So we are going to have two IF here. So this is an actual practical circuit, which is there in most of the receivers. So you have an RF amplifier out here, okay, a tuned circuit. Then you have the first local oscillator, which is generally the first IF is 10.7 megahertz. So local oscillator, you will have, in this case it is not necessarily, in the first case we saw the local oscillator has to be RF plus IF. You can also use RF minus IF also, because that will also give the same IF, because it will generate both the sum and product frequencies, right? So you are using 423.3 megahertz. So this is an example given. Suppose I want to tune it to 433 megahertz radio station. I am going to use an local oscillator frequency 422.3 megahertz. So these two will beat and generate 10.7 megahertz. So what is the image frequency? Image frequency is 433 minus, in this case it is not going to be plus 2AF, because I am using the lower LO here. So I have to generate the image frequency, it will be minus 2 into IF, okay, RF minus 2 IF. So 433 minus 2 into 10.7, so it is 411.6 megahertz. So 411.6 megahertz along with 423 will also generate 10.7 megahertz. But then if you see the difference, I am tuning it this to 433. So where is the image frequency? Image frequency is 411. So it is 20 megahertz far away. So it will be able to reject that. If it has gotten 6 megahertz bandwidth, obviously this is very far away. And how is it this far away? Because we are using an high IF of 10 megahertz here. Okay, that is the reason this has been pushed far away, and that is the reason why it is able to reject here. Now, but the adjacent channels are also available here. Now I need to, in the second step, I need to remove the adjacent channels also. So again I may beat it with one more frequency, 10.245 megahertz, which will generate a 455 kilohertz and a signal out here, right? So now if you see this band pass filter is just tuned to 455 kilohertz. This is known as the second IF, and since this is very low frequency, it will be able to isolate the or attenuate the adjacent channels, and it will be able to select the required frequency only. So I used a combination of two IFs here. The first IF will enable me to reject the image frequency, whereas the second IF will enable me to select only the desired frequency and remove the adjacent channels. Okay, now if you see, this LO need not be tuned. Okay, this can be fixed because this is 10.25 megahertz, because this frequency is also fixed. 10.7 is fixed, 10.245 is also fixed. Okay, this 455 is also fixed. So what are the variables here? This amplifier and this local oscillator frequency, these are variable. So once you want to tune different radio stations, these two have to be tuned accordingly, right? If I have to tune, for example, 200 megahertz, so I'll tune this to 200 megahertz. This will be 200 minus 10.7 megahertz. Okay, so if I have to tune this receiver for some radio signal which is available at 250 megahertz, I'll have to tune this particular amplifier to 250 megahertz, this RF amplifier, and this will be 250 minus 10.7 megahertz. Okay, so these two, and in fact this mixer, these three will be tuned together. Okay, whereas this will not be tuned because here it is fixed. This frequency is going to be fixed here, 10.7. This band pass filter is all designed for 10.7. This band pass filter is designed for 455 kilohertz, and this local oscillator will be permanently oscillating at 10.245 megahertz, right? So this is, like I said, these three are tunable. Okay, so you have an IF amplifier. So these are not tuned; these are all going to be fixed. Okay. So this is the last slide where this is a practical block diagram of a communication receiver. You have an antenna coupling unit. So this is an antenna, okay, which is coming here. Okay, so antenna which is through the coupling unit, the RF signal is reaching the RF amplifier. Now I said the RF amplifier needs to be tuned to the desired frequency, the mixer and the local oscillator. So these three blocks will be tuned here, right? Okay, so these are going to be tuned out here. So if you see here, it is 1.7 megahertz. Okay, so this is, suppose this particular communication receiver in this example, it is has been designed for 2 to 16 megahertz. So since the IF is 1.7 megahertz, here it is again, if you see, the local oscillator is above the RF signal. So it is been this local oscillator for 2 megahertz, the local oscillator frequency will be 3.7, and for 16 megahertz it will be 17.7. Okay, so accordingly this needs to be tuned. So this is going to be these two signals are going to be mixed here, and you have an IF amplifier of 17 megahertz. Okay, then you have 1.5 megahertz signal. This is the second local oscillator. Once you mix 1.5 and 1.7, you get 200 kilohertz. Okay, so 200 kilohertz is a very low frequency, so that will be able to remove all the adjacent channels. Okay, and whereas this IF of 1.7 megahertz is large enough to remove the image frequency. Okay, so this will remove the image frequency, whereas this will help in removing the large IF. Okay, will help the RF amplifier to remove the image frequency. Here it is the low IF out here will enable us to select the desired frequency. Now that will come here, it will go to a detector. So depending on whether it's an AM signal or an FM signal, so it will be able to detect the signal. And also you have an squelch circuit. Squelch circuit is nothing but if you don't suppose there is no IF amplifier, there is no signal available here because you are not receiving any signal out here, so there will be some zero signal coming here. So that zero signal will enable the squelch circuit to switch off the audio amplifier. Otherwise what will happen is, whenever there is no signal, there will be some noise. So in the audio amplifier you will hear that buzzing sounds, so that will create that's not a very pleasant sound, right? It will create a disturbance. So that is the reason you have a squelch circuit. So whenever there is no signal, it will switch off the audio amplifier and it will be complete blank. Your headphone will be completely blank whenever there is loss of signal here. Okay, now there are two more blocks which is given here, which is known as AGC. Okay, what an AGC does is, suppose you have an amplifier. So suppose you have a car stereo FM signal and you are moving in the car. So obviously the signal which is being received will not be constant. It will go up and down, up and down. Okay, the signal strength will vary. So you don't want the audio signal to keep varying as per the strength of the signal, right? So you want to adjust the gain accordingly, so that whatever you are hearing is at a constant audio level. So this is a feedback loop which is given. So whatever you have from the IF stage, okay, this AGC amplifier and the AGC detector will adjust the gain of this RF amplifier and the IF amplifier out here, so that you are able to receive a constant signal, okay, at the audio level in your headset or whatsoever. So otherwise the audio level will keep increasing as the RF signal varies. So this is a feedback loop. Okay, also given here is beat frequency, right? So this was for very age old receivers, when people used to transmit data as Morse codes, right? So in that codes, if you have a Morse codes, did that they used to press that a key, and they used to just transmit the RF signal, okay, and then when you release the key, no RF signal is sent. Okay, when you press the key, there will be an RF signal which be sent. So if you press it small and leave, that means it's a did, and if you press it for a long duration, it means it's a dot. So a did dot. So that is how small signals and large signals used to be sent. But then if you have but when you are receiving it, you would want some tones, right? It is better for a human mind to hear the tones, right? So if there is a small dit, we say 1 kilohertz, some tone should come, and if it's a long, the same tone for an extended duration. So this was used a beat oscillator of 1 kilohertz or something like that. So when you switch it on for when you are receiving a Morse code, we used to switch it on this here. So it used to whenever there is an RF signal, because when you are using a Morse key on to the RF signal, there is no modulation signal. Okay, it is just pure RF. So this is in the beat frequency we use to superimpose an audio signal, so that at the output you hear. So whenever somebody is transmitting a signal, you will hear an audio signal here. Actually he is not transmitting an audio signal, he is just transmitting the carrier, but a superimposed RF signal which will give you an output audio signal. So this is how a typical communication receiver used to be. So that's all for today, and in the next class maybe I will discuss about frequency modulation. Thanks a lot.